For the past 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, Nigeria has been having challenges that are beckoning and waiting for answers and solutions. That is why we are bringing to you our program, State of the Nation. And this is going to come up on our flagship program this morning on ITV. I am hereby inviting you to join me, Bola Bakare, your host, on State of the Nation, so that we can hasten the motions that brings national development. It's going to be a regular basis on Tuesdays. Make it a date with me. I'll be there waiting for you, and then we shall discuss Nigeria on an holistic level.
On this segment, we shall be dealing with what makes a nation. What makes our children into men and into nation, into leaders of a nation? And what am I talking about? Education. But when we are talking about education, we need to factor in the element of unending strikes. Strikes action from the teachers, the lecturers, in whatever guise, in whatever union they are. The strike actions are becoming one too many. I would like to take us back a little bit. 2 years back in the 70s, during the days of Ali Must Go. And what that did to us was it took 2 to 3 years off the system of education, tertiary education in Nigeria. We are still having the same experience as we speak. The last ASU strike took off one session from the education of our children. But the thing is, the topic for today is education and the unending strikes. We are going to look at it closely. Why do we have the strikes? What do they really want? Is the demand okay? Is the government reacting properly? You know, it puts a lot of questions on the table. And I can make you a promise, this morning we are going to tidy it up. Because I have with me in the studio an astute gentleman who knows his onions, who is not just an analyst. He is an activist when it comes to Nigeria as a whole. I am talking about my brother, Majid Dairo. Good morning and welcome.
Thank you very much for having me. Good morning.
It's just great having you here, because I'm sure we are going to do justice to this program.
And I'm happy being here too, because you are a patriot.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you, my brother. Like I said earlier in my opening, without education, there is no nation. There is no nation, because you won't be able to breed your leaders of tomorrow. But if you heard me right, I ran an inference to the 70s when tertiary education was broken for about 2 to 3 years. We're beginning to do same again. A few months back, our kids were not in school for close on a session, a year. This shouldn't be the norm. But for God's sake, for openness, take us through what you think is the problem with our education system.
I think since the 70s,
that's right,
we've seen a steady decline in the standard of education in Nigeria.
Okay.
But you cannot talk about education in isolation.
That's true. That's true.
We've also seen a correspondent decline in the quality of governance in Nigeria over the period.
Oh, sure, governance affects everything.
So education. I think education in Nigeria is simply one of those victims of bad governance, of the dysfunction that is at the root of the Nigerian state.
That's right. That's
and
right.
To have a proper understanding of what has really gone wrong with the system,
that's right,
will be to also background it with what is wrong with the Nigerian state.
Yeah, can you try and give us a fusion of that governance and education? How it affects?
I think the importance of education to any nation cannot be
That's right. That's right.
Because ordinarily, education is supposed to groom citizens to become politically conscious.
That's right.
Political development.
That's right.
And also the economic development of the individual.
That's true.
So that citizens of a particular country or nation can compete globally for global resources. That is the essence of
education. Yes, yes.
Now, without the political education of a citizen, his economic education will be useless. Because you need political education. You need to be a Nigerian. You need to be tribalized. You need to understand the geography of a country.
The culture,
the history.
That fuses us.
And most importantly, the culture that fuses us. That is the most important element of political education, because you need to understand, you need to inculcate in the Nigerian child the fact that Nigerians are one people.
That's right. That is right.
And that the multiplicity of ethnicities in Nigeria is simply a plurality of one big family.
That's right. Of course, yes.
This is sacrosanct. So that citizens will be able to relate with each other, not on the basis of their ethnicity or religion, but on shared interests, and assess each other through the content of their character and what they bring to bear.
Okay.
Now, this has been lacking because the Nigerian state is not actually structured to function like a normal nation.
Like I normally say, it didn't start yesterday. It has been with us over the decades.
It's been there from the beginning. Now, you will discover that Nigeria is a country that is dependent on one source of revenue, which is from crude oil exports. And every month it is shared among the federating units. And do not forget, our federating units are 36 states and 724 governments are somehow structured along ethno-geographic fault lines.
That's true. That's true. And that doesn't augur well for education?
Absolutely, because you know why? Now, those that are managing this federating unit, the political leaders, do not see the urgency to develop a Nigerian child or a Nigerian citizen to be politically aware and economically empowered, because there's no incentive for that. Because every month you sit down as a governor and
come to Abuja.
So there's no basis to want to develop capacity for global competitiveness. No, there's no urgency for that.
Okay, there is no baseline urge.
No. So rather, education in Nigeria has been certification education.
That's it.
That is, it gives you access to having a share of the national cake through bogus public service employment, access to resources, that's all.
Thank you.
We are not a cake baking nation. So
chronic cake eating.
We are cake eating. We are oversharing the cake. So even those that are actually managing our resources and are managing our affairs have this at the back of their mind that, of what use is this education? After all, education is just simply a means of getting certification in order to get paid employment, essentially.
At this juncture, I would like to now go back a little bit to the people that takes care of our education. In other words, I'm talking about the unions. The unions. You've just said one thing now, and let me add another factor to it before I throw my question at you. On a regular basis, to use the balance, they keep coming back for, in quote, more. They keep coming back for more. Be it financial, be it this, be it that. It's just a regular basis they keep coming back for more. And I guess that is based on the fact that they sat back and looked at the situation and felt, if everybody can get it, I'm bringing the element of the cake you said, if everybody can get it, why wouldn't we? Why shouldn't we get our own? And like you said, we are just a country of, we are not cake producers, we are cake eaters.
We're not baking it. We're not
so everybody is interested in that.
In that piece of the cake.
But I would like to throw one thing, and then I would like you to educate us some more about this regular, unending demand from these unions of our tertiary institutions. Are they working? Are they up to speed enough to make that demand? Global standards enough to make that demand?
Unfortunately, no.
But give us some excerpts here.
Exactly. If you look at the quality of the teaching and non-teaching staffs in the universities, it falls below the irreducible minimum.
You don't mean that?
And you know why?
Yes, go ahead.
It's also a fallout or a function of the state of dysfunction of the Nigerian state. How do I mean?
Okay.
Everything in Nigeria has become patronage. So you get employment as a lecturer based on patronage.
Not because of competence or merit.
No, it's patronage. I mean, you're just put there, go and
teach them something.
Go and teach them something and then give them certificates to come out and become palm secs and directors in the ministries where they are planning how to share the national cake. So, yes, they were not given the right training. I mean, they are products of the same system that has been declining for over 4 decades now.
That's right.
And so they cannot regenerate themselves, actually. They're a degenerate set of people that cannot regenerate themselves.
And they're not ready to move away.
They're not ready. I mean, they have their own flaws. They do not impart knowledge. Otherwise, we won't have the kind of products we're having from these universities. Even though they blame the government for not funding. But I would say that if you...
What are they doing?
If you must fund universities properly, if government decides to fund universities properly, and as well now demand accountability and performance.
That's right.
Most of them will not be in the system. This is a given. This is something that is not disputable. But what they are fighting for now is survival, essentially.
Asking for more.
Yeah, because if you look at the salary scale of Nigerian university teachers,
it's poor.
It's very poor. It falls below the poverty baseline.
Okay.
A professor in a Nigerian university earns less than $1,000 per month. A professor.
Which is not in tandem with the world standards.
Not even African standards. In South Africa, they earn over $6,000 per month. Even in Ghana, they earn higher than this. I may not have the exact figure. But this is very poor. I mean, this money cannot take a professor home.
Naturally, yes.
No, they can't.
Naturally,
I mean, I've seen the living conditions of our professors. I'm not talking about even like just lecturers, professors. The salary of a professor is 501,000 naira.
To be exact.
To be exact. And it depends on the stage where you are teaching, where it depends on the tax rate in each of these states.
Okay, well, how much they take off you and then...
So an average professor takes home about 350 to 380,000 naira per month, depending on the tax rate.
The state and then...
Yes. So it's that bad.
That's poor.
It's very poor. They can't afford housing. They can't afford quality health care for themselves and their families. They can't even afford to sometimes fund their children's education.
Is that you know, one thing I normally say is this: we've seen all these anomalies, all these shortfalls. Is that an excuse for churning out bad kids? Because honestly, I can say this for free. We do our own research, and I've had cause to talk to some of these graduates who have, like you said, just paper certificate. In 10, 7 of them cannot string together 4 sentences, correct sentences.
Absolutely.
But my problem based on that is this: is the lecturer, because you earn less, teaching them less, or you are incapable of teaching them at all?
I think it's both. And it is both because government is not paying attention to education. If government was paying attention to education as it's supposed to be, they will ensure that only the best are retained in the system as academic staffs. Secondly, they will also have a commensurate remuneration package that makes them pay attention and give in their best. It may not be the highest paid in the world, but government must also show example by not also be seen to be eating a larger chunk of the national cake. Because everybody sees that. Everybody sees that. I mean, look at our legislators, our executives, the judiciary.
The humongous pay pack they worked out for themselves.
It's too much. It's like a father whose children are starving, but he's having, you know, a sumptuous meal for breakfast. He lives in the best part of the compound, but his children are cramped in 1-bedroom apartment. They walk to school while he drives himself to work. So it's like irresponsible parenting.
That's true.
So that is the problem we're having. It's a collective problem, really, but that one that is induced and continuously nurtured by the government. The failure of government is at the root of all of these problems.
Are you, in other words, are you inadvertently saying the unions are trying to shapen up the government by their demands?
Well, it's part of it. Their demands could be self-serving with a certain kind of context.
That's right.
It could be. But what we are saying is, government has a role to play here. It is the failure of government for so long a time that has resulted into what we are seeing today, where if you look at the demands on the surface of it, you can't really fault them.
That's true.
After all, they are called university teachers.
That's right, though.
They are university teachers.
That's right, though.
They deserve some level of comfort in order to impart knowledge. But quality control,
it's not there. Is it there?
It's not there. It's in fact, I don't know. It's like the academia in Nigeria is like a dumping ground of some sort now.
Of what?
From primary to secondary to tertiary level. It's like when you are starved of job, the easiest place they can dump you is to go and come and teach.
Go and teach.
This is even worse at the primary education level. People that have no business being in the classroom are the teachers. They are the people that are on payroll as teachers.
And say, okay, let me see your certificates. Most of them had just all these I've lost my certificate affidavits.
Yes.
And the governor said, okay, you have an affidavit, there's nothing wrong in that. Please read what is in your affidavit.
About Edo State or Shomole.
I didn't want to mention names here, but you're quite correct. It was Edo.
Read.
The only thing she could read in the affidavit was her name alone. Any other thing she could not. And this is somebody imparting knowledge to our kids. So like you rightly said, we have a problem there.
It's a problem. There's no education is not prioritized in Nigeria. We don't know the importance of education.
What do you think we should do? What do you think we should do? Because I believe one thing. I'm a positive thinker, and I believe life is work in progress. What do you think we should do?
This conversation must actually start now.
Yes.
And it must be carried out in a way as to impact or actually influence political decisions in the next dispensation.
Okay.
If you look at all over the world, Nigeria today has no presence in the global economic stage. And you wonder why? Because you don't have a proper, a well-structured educational system that seeks to produce cake bakers.
Not cake eaters.
Not cake eaters. If you look at the state of our economy today,
okay,
it has to do with our educational system, more or less.
Because we have no wherewithal to manage it.
We don't. Nigerians also vote along ethnic and tribal lines during elections, so I don't think it's working for us.
Okay.
And today, the consequence of all of this is that we are a hugely indebted nation. We are borrowing practically to repay debt.
Or we borrow to consume?
No, that one is we've gone beyond borrowing to consume. We are now borrowing to repay debt, because when you service your debt with over almost 100% of your revenue, it tells you that
you're stagnant.
And we are borrowing more. I mean, we have borrowing plans being rolled out from each fiscal year to the other. So it tells you that Nigeria is living on borrowed financing. It's like a man that's unable to cater for himself, that's living on freebies from neighbors and charitable friends. Now, this is because no sector of our so-called largest economy in Africa, we are supposed to be the largest economy in Africa, but none of those sectors are actually export competitive.
Can you tie what you're saying right now to education? If
you look at, let me use the country we all use as an example, the United States of America. Silicon Valley.
In California.
Sitting down here, I'm sure with your phone, you would have gone from Facebook to Google to YouTube and other apps. I mean, this morning before coming to the program, I've done the same.
That's right, of course, yes.
These are all products of Silicon Valley. How was Silicon Valley developed? How did it evolve? There was a university there, Stanford University.
Stanford, yes.
And there was a research institution, a NASA-based research institution, that was actually close to Stanford University. And the American government actually established the internet as a platform for its military communications. These three factors combined.
You are going to tie it to Nigeria and tell Nigerians what we should do?
Actually spoiled Silicon Valley.
Okay.
That has become a multi-billion-dollar export competitive subsector of the US economy. So you stay in Nigeria, even during COVID, you stay in Nigeria, you use apps to substitute for physical interactions. You are paying companies in the US.
Little wonder California state is about the 8th richest economy on earth.
You're not talking about Hollywood yet. Let's leave Hollywood out. Let's talk about the one that education directly best.
Okay. Fuse it, like I said earlier, fuse that level of competitiveness to get to that high, lofty area to
exactly
where Nigerians, let's talk
For example, we have states in the federation that have agricultural endowments.
Okay.
We want to see the universities and other teaching institutions in those states all oriented towards agricultural improvement, both in terms of personnel and inputs. We want to see, for example, a state like Ondo and Ekiti
cocoa production
having dedicated institutions, whose only mandate is continuous research on how to improve and outcompete Ghana
and Ivory
Coast in cocoa production.
That's good. I like that fusion in education.
Because you must understand that you are in a global competitive world. You see, unlike other countries, Nigerians are actually competing amongst themselves for internal resources. So you want to be senator, you want to be House of Representatives, you want to be governor, you want to be Senate President, Deputy Senate President will go to another part of the country, Vice President will go to another part of the country, so that we can have a balance.
The cake eating is widespread cake eating
widespread. But other countries are competing with other countries for global resources. So ordinarily, Nigeria is supposed to be competing with Ghana, competing with Ivory Coast, competing with South Africa and China for African market at least.
Okay.
And so to do this, you need to fix your educational sector to actually produce the right kind of human resources you need to drive
the economy.
Without this, Nigeria will continuously be a poor country where you cannot pay your lecturers well, where you can't fund your education well, where you can't fund health services, where you can't fund infrastructure, and there will continuously be strife because you can't even also fund your security services adequately to contain security. So we need to link up with the global race for resources through a reformed educational system that can position our citizens as global players.
At the same time, don't let us forget the element of proliferation of our tertiary institutions. Are they adding more to the whole, or
I think they're adding more because in Nigeria they create universities as a form of patronage. A governor just carries a university and puts it in his village just because he wants to be seen to have brought something. And
all they do is just turn out paper certificate students.
So it has no value. You don't have too many universities, but they should be strategically.
Just like you run an inference in the case of Ekiti and Ondo.
And you don't need university education for all Nigerians.
That's right.
We need to invest in primary and secondary education.
That's education in itself.
That is the real education. In fact, if you ask me, we should focus more on primary and secondary education. We should have a policy that aims to produce a Nigerian citizen at secondary school level that is economically and politically developed enough.
That's true. To become a leader.
To become a leader in whatever field of endeavor he or she decides to actually pursue.
Okay.
So we need to focus. Part of the reforms we need is focus now on primary and secondary education. And these are the responsibilities of state governments. And they have failed spectacularly in this regard.
Can you imagine that? We are all Nigerians, really. That's why we're talking about this morning, so that we can share our ideas. Fellow Nigerians can listen to us, and then the powers that be, we can afford to talk directly at the people out there. Like my brother Majid said, we are chronic cake eaters and not cake bakers. For God's sake, we need to look at our future concisely, or else it becomes a case of the heaven is going to fall. It's not the business of one person. It's going to fall on us all. So let us, for God's sake, start effecting changes. It's not going to happen overnight. Nobody says that. But let us make it a positive work in progress. I would like to say something else. In terms of this imbroglio between the unions and the federal government, it has to do with a lot of bureaucracy. As we were saying, well, we agreed on this last week, last month, last year, and they are not coming up with anything. And then the ministers in labor and employment are coming up with, no. You have to go through the works. You have to have meetings with Ministry of Education, Ministry of Finance has to be there, the Presidential Committee on Salaries and Wages has to be there, the NUC has to be there, then Ministry of Labor and Employment has to be there, before finally we now go to FEC. Do you understand the trajectory we've now been through? Is this the way to go? I know the bureaucracy is important, but if we factor in the fact that the education of our kids is more important than any other thing, we will be going through all this facade.
Bureaucracy is good, but it should not be a bottleneck.
That's right.
That's the problem. That's what's wrong with the bureaucracy. It's about process.
That's true.
It's about procedure. It's about accountability.
That's
it's about,
That's it.
Institutional memory. But it shouldn't constitute a bottleneck if the political will is there to resolve this issue. I think the demands of ASU, yes, it has to do with agreements on some terms and conditions that were reached in the past. And most importantly, I think it has to do with the payment system.
IPs, and then I guess they've been able to rest that and then do what ASU wants.
Exactly. So I don't know if it has been implemented.
It takes money to implement anything, really.
Now the truth is, I know that the government is constrained in terms of cash.
That's right.
But I also know that government is also not getting its priorities right. For a government that is constrained, we know that, let's face it, well, our shared national kingdom, Nigeria is actually broke as it is. But government must now do something that would make other sectors of the economy less restive when it comes to demanding for more. And what is that?
Okay.
They must cut down on the cost of governance, the cost of running their high offices. When a lecturer in Nigeria or a medical doctor says that, okay, a minister or a senator or a PAMSEC is
who's probably not learned, who never went to any university or went
earning this much, there's nothing you can tell him about sacrifice. There's nothing you can explain to him about the fact that there's no money. So the only way you can convey that message appropriately to Nigerians, that we have a crisis situation on our hands, where maybe we need everybody to come on board.
Make it collective.
Let us start this process. It's for you to cut down
on the cost of governance.
Yes, we want to see you ride in less,
less convoy.
Less convoy. We want to see you actually earn something at par with what the professor is earning.
That's right.
If it as a minister. We want to see National Assembly people not able to buy the kind of SUVs they buy for themselves, the kind of running costs that they have. All of that needs to go.
That's true.
When that is gone, I am sure Nigerians love their country enough, they love their nation so much, that they will come around and sit to the government and say, okay, how do we now start moving forward? But for as long as you maintain your privileges in the face of widespread hunger and anger, you don't expect people to actually have any form of understanding with you. No. When it comes to your plea that there's no money,
you'll be looking at you that you are enjoying the funds, and then why would you have
the Minister for Labour, you rode in convoy to that meeting, and you're telling professors, to university teachers that, you can't help
the situation.
It won't sink, really. It's not convincing.
That's it. Like the interest I have for this topic, education in itself. Unfortunately, time is a constraint. And then, if I can have you here today, I can have you here another day. Because we really need to trash this out.
We need to trash this.
And Nigerians out there, we are all in this together. We are all in this together. Even a kid that is 10 years old can see the cost of governance. Not to talk of a lecturer or a professor that knows the score. And like my brother Majid said, why will a professor who has spent years acquiring knowledge that he wants to impart to our kids, you keep him somewhere, and then for the cost of governance, you take it upon yourself, you eat the cake, you take the knife and the fork and the spoon away so that what is left is just the plate, and you tell somebody, you just keep on working, your reward is in heaven. There's no reward in heaven. You work, you earn a living. Like he has alluded to, Nigerians, fellow Nigerians, you powers that be, we've been saying this for ages. Cut down on the cost of governance so that we can have education for our kids. As to education unions, for God's sake, keep up the negotiations, work out agreements, and think in terms of Nigeria. If I tell you think Nigeria first, you'll probably tell me I should go and sit down somewhere. Unless I am blind, I'm not seeing what is going on. But I am a positive thinker. Let us all think positive. Life is work in progress. Nigeria is work in progress. You are part of that work in progress. All we need at the end of the day is a synergy. And like my brother Majid Dairu said, we all need to come together, form a fusion, maintain that element of unity in diversity. He said one thing, that all we do is, what is the problem of the state? The state will say is the problem of the federal. The federal will say there is a problem of another one. For God's sake, it is a collective problem, and then we all should come together and elevate this. Strikes should not be a recurring decimal. I would like to say thank you to my brother here who has been able to give us insights.
Thank you so much.
If not for COVID, I would have given you a handshake. But at least I can give you a knuckle for that.
It's an honor to be here, sir.
Fellow Nigerians, that has been Majid Dahiru sharing his insights with us about this element of education and unending strike actions. We hope, we pray, and we will work towards ending these strike actions.